This video is sponsored by Empower. It's a free app that helps you budget and save money. Go to empower.me/companyman to get it. It's in the description. I've been using it and I'm excited to tell you all about it at the end of the video. But for now, let's talk about Levi's. A few months ago, I made a video about Janko jeans, those really wide leg jeans from the 90s. They recently tried to make a comeback, but then decided to shut down all production about a month after I released that video. They are still selling their existing inventory on their website, so if you're a big Janko fan, it's time to stock up. But most of you aren't rushing to that website. Most of you are wishing I would stop talking about Janko altogether and get to the Levi's. I only mentioned Janko to make a point. That video was called the Janko fad because they were only big for a few years. Not terribly uncommon in the fashion world. There's new fads and trends all the time. And then we have Levi's, a brand that started in the 1800s and it's been thriving practically ever since. Of course, they've had some down years. It hasn't been a perfect run, but it's still an impressive run. You may be surprised to learn that. I don't have my finger at the pulse of fashion, but I'd say Levi's are always in style, right? They have been for my whole life, and I'm sure for much longer than that. We all just call them Levi's, but the full name of the company is Levi Strauss. I have to admit, I always suspected it was a combination of two names. One named Levi and one named Strauss, like a Sears Roebuck situation, but I was wrong. Levi Strauss is the first and last name of one man, but there is a second person involved, so maybe I'll take half credit on this one. Alright, quarter credit. The company goes all the way back to 1853. There was a little something happening in America called the Gold Rush. Word got out that there was gold to be mined in San Francisco, so people would pack up their things and head west for it. Levi did the same thing, but not for gold. He saw it as a business opportunity. He opened up a dry goods business with the intention of selling to all the people who were there for the gold. And if you don't know what dry goods are, it's things like clothes, blankets, textiles. Don't feel bad. I think it's more of an old-timey term. But it wasn't too far from what they sell today. The second man enters the story almost 20 years later. His name was Jacob Davis. He was a tailor from Nevada. Jacob had a really good idea. He noticed when pants would get old and torn up, the locations of the tears were always in the same places, basically around the pockets. His idea sounds simple today, but it was to reinforce those areas with rivets. Jacob would use this method for a couple of years and soon noticed that others were doing it too. He felt the need to patent his idea. The person that Jacob would commonly buy his materials from was Levi Strauss. Jacob decided to contact him about the idea in hopes to become partners and split the cost of the patent. Levi agreed to it, and the day that patent was granted is thought to be the day that blue jeans were invented. Now, denim pants already existed, but they weren't jeans until the introduction of these rivets. And even with the rivets, they weren't called jeans right away. At first they were called waist overalls. You might be shocked to learn that they were officially called overalls until 1960, when the word jeans finally took its place. They would hold the patent to that rivet process until around 1890, so after that, everyone was able to use that same technique. Around that same time, they started assigning numbers to their jean types. These original jeans that I've been talking about were assigned the number 501. And today, if you want to buy a pair of 501s, they're labeled as their original fit jeans. Do you know why they call them 501s? I mean, why they use that specific number? I don't know either. In 1906, San Francisco experienced a massive earthquake. It occurred before the Richter scale was developed, but it's estimated to be a 7.9 in magnitude. And soon after, all these fires broke out. 3,000 people died in total. It was bad news for the city of San Francisco. And Levi Strauss was headquartered in San Francisco. Their buildings didn't survive the fires, and they ended up losing all of their historical records. They didn't even have them backed up to the cloud. So there's some historical gaps when it comes to the early days of Levi Strauss, including where that number 501 comes from. No one knows. Levi Strauss, the person, wasn't present for any of this. He died 4 years earlier. His business partner, Jacob Davis, died 2 years after the fire. The company was passed on to Levi's nephews, and the family still owns it today. During all these years, waist overalls were intended for working men, the miners that were searching for gold and cowboys. This was mostly the case until the Second World War. Like many companies, they had to make some changes to the materials during that time, but when they came out of it, they developed a larger customer base. Levi's were no longer for working men, they were for everybody. That's when everyone started calling them jeans, and the company decided to go with it. In the 1980s, they started the brand Dockers. It's their business casual khaki brand. Here's what Levi Strauss looks like today. In 2017, their sales were approaching $5 billion, which is very good compared to the previous years. Of that $5 billion, 86% of it came from the sale of Levi brand products. 8% of it was from Dockers, and 6% was from Signature by Levi & Company and the Denizen brand. Those are their upper scale, higher quality products. So even though they've expanded into different brands, Levi's is by far still the core of their business. They offer many products as well. You can go to their website and search for shirts, shoes, socks, sweatshirts. But pants, by far, are the core of their business, representing 72% of all sales in 2017. And they do make clothes for women as well. They have been since the 1930s. But, I'm sure you can guess where I'm going with this, 72% of all their sales were for men's products. After all these years, all these brands and all these different products, their most popular products, and really what they're most known for, has never changed. There was no surprise in any of that, but here's something that might surprise you. Levi's is known as an American brand. They take pride in that, and in many cases it comes through in their marketing loud and clear. But, in fact, their products are sold in 110 countries, and in 2017, 43% of their sales came from outside of the Americas. I was personally surprised to learn this. I normally wouldn't be. International sales have become expected for most companies. But I always associated Levi's with America. I was concerned the rest of the world wouldn't relate to this video at all, but based on these numbers, looks like you might. They've expanded in just about every way you can imagine. You can't argue that they've stood the test of time in an industry where that's especially hard to do. Over 150 years in business, and they're doing better than ever. I have a few theories on how they've done it. One is identity. Levi's are unique to other jeans. They have that iconic stitching on the pocket, that little red Levi's tag on the right side. You know it when you look at a pair of Levi's. Even that brown tag near the waist in the back, it's always there, it's always practically the same. And if you've never taken a close look at that tag, it might be the perfect time right now. It depicts exactly what we've been talking about. It brags about the copper rivets. The picture is of two horses trying to rip the pants apart to show how well those rivets keep everything intact. If you really look close at it, you can see the date, May 20, 1873, which is the day their patent went through, marking the invention of blue jeans, or I guess waist overalls. And that leads me to another way they've stood the test of time. They haven't changed much. They've stayed true to themselves. They've had that similar look and tag for some time. When fashions change, they change too, but they don't go overboard. They find that balance where they adjust with the times, but still manage to keep their identity. Another potential reason is consistent quality. They seem to maintain a good balance between quality and price. The last theory I have may be the most obvious, but they've been around forever. They were the first to sell blue jeans, so they had at least a little bit of a jump start on everybody else. It's not the most complicated explanation, but it's one you couldn't say about any other company in the industry. Don't discount experience. Let me know in the comments, why do you think they've stood the test of time? Do you agree with the reasons I provided, or do you have some of your own? And a question specifically to the viewers from Europe or Asia. Is this, in fact, a popular brand where you live? And my final question, addressing everybody again, What's your style? They have a pretty neat naming system for it, for men and women. It started with that mysteriously named 501 and just continued from there. If you're new to Levi's, you may have to go try on 5 different pairs before you find the right one. But the beauty of the system is once you figure it out, couldn't be easier. For me anyway. So, I'm curious, are you an original 501 person? Maybe the 559 relaxed straight or 510 skinny fit? I'm more of a 513 slim straight myself. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Alright, I wanted to tell you more about Empower. Here's what you do. Once you get the app, you link it to your accounts, and it's a great tool in helping you with your finances. The part that I personally found really helpful was this report they generate that visually shows you where you're spending your money. I know we all think we know where our money's going, but seeing it all laid out like this gives you a whole new understanding. It made me realize I was spending too much on dining. At the end of every month, I wouldn't add up all my dining expenses, so I really didn't know what the number was. So then, to solve the problem, I used the app to set up a personal spending limit. Empower does so many different things to help you manage and save your money. You can set up intelligent alerts to keep you up to date on spending and bills. It'll actually look for savings in everyday transactions like your cable bill or your insurance plan. Users have even improved their credit scores. I wish that I can tell you everything about it, but it's one of those things where you really have to check it out yourself and apply it to your own situation. I think that just about everybody watching this can find ways to benefit from Empower. Simply go to empower.me/companyman, that's COMPANYMAN, it's in the description, to get your free account and start saving today. Thank you for watching.